Meanwhile, the trial of 9 suspects linked to the June 13, 2025 attack on Yelwata community in Guma local government area, Benue State, has resumed. At today's hearing, the first prosecution witness continued his testimony, providing further details against the defendants. Right now, we're joined by our correspondent, Joshua Imarayi, who is standing by at the Court of Appeal in Abuja to give us more updates. Joshua, firstly, can you take us through the key events leading up to today's expected judgment on the 9 consolidated appeals that involves the PDP?
Good afternoon to you, Blessings. It all started in October 2025 when aggrieved parties, members within the PDP approached the Federal High Court in Abuja, particularly Justice James Omotosho, to rule on a matter that was bordering on the effective and competent leadership of the PDP. Now, we recall that that particular court had ruled against the governors and the Tanimu Turaki-led faction, saying that they lacked the local standing and the authority to constitute a national convention, which later held in Ibadan. And you recall that they went ahead, despite this court ruling, to hold that particular convention in Ibadan. And in November 2025, which they held this convention, series of lawsuits filed in the Federal High Court and several courts of competent jurisdiction came in, and this later led to the PDP approaching the Court of Appeal with this 9 consolidated appeal seeking redress. And you recall that in January 2026, these appeals were filed before the Court of Appeal, and on the 12th of February 2026, particularly, these appeals, they were adopted, and all the arguments were adopted before the Court of Appeal. So where we are today is now the judgment day. Today is the judgment day, and the Court of Appeal has already given one judgment, particularly with regards to the National Convention which held in Ibadan. The Court of Appeal has ruled that the November 16, 15 and 16 convention which held in Ibadan, your state, failed to comply with legal requirements for holding such convention, and that the court now is siding with the Senator Sam Anyanwu faction, saying that the party who went ahead to hold that particular convention lacked the authority because prior notice was not given to INEC before the convention was held, and that the convention failed all the necessary electoral guidelines with regards to national convention and inter-party activities as well as intra-party activities. Blessings.
So now to the case, Joshua, that involves the Yelwata suspect. What new information did the prosecution witness reveal in court today?
The statement of the prosecution witness is quite riveting, earthquaking and earth-shaking. You recall I told you earlier that a new prosecution witness, the first prosecution witness, was brought forward by the prosecution counsel. That is the person of Oyedepo, who is the director of public prosecution. And today the prosecution witness testified, saying that the entire crisis began after the Benue state government enacted the anti-grazing law that led to all open grazing ending in the state. And after this anti-grazing law was enacted, according to the testimony of the witness, 2 defendants allegedly lost their cattle and some kinsmen as a result of the tension of the law. One of the witnesses, Haruna Abdullahi, the 3rd defendant in this case, was said to have been serving as an intermediary between the thief, the Fulani, and as well as the police along that Guma local government area. And it was said that this particular defendant, the 3rd defendant named Haruna Abdullahi, actually lost his cattle and 2 of his sons. It was alleged that he also reported the incident to police, and the police invited him for questioning and perhaps maybe intervention into the matter, which he declined. And according to what the witness is saying, he testified that the 3rd defendant told the police that he was going to mobilize his men and retaliate to the attack that led to the death of his 2 sons. And the witness also confirmed to the court that they had several meetings, particularly some of the meetings were held in one of the defendants, the 1st defendant, Aldo Rawal, who is the chief of Fulani, and it was said that they mobilized resources, put resources to fund the attack on Yelwata, allegedly. And based on what the prosecution testified, he said that this particular third defendant actually, with his son, carried out some of the attacks in Yelwata. According to the testimony of this witness, this particular defendant, the 3rd defendant, was among those who led the attack, and he was referred to as the commander of the attack. And according to him, that this particular witness went with 5 of his sons, who were all armed with AK-47 on the day of this attack. the prosecution witness also testified that this particular individual confessed to the police that he actually killed 8 persons during the attack. Now, this prosecution witness also brought an exhibit to court that was identified as Exhibit A, and this exhibit is said to be an AK-47 recovered from the third defendant, who said that this was one of the arms used to perpetrate the attack. And surprisingly, when the prosecution witness was testifying in court, he said that in between the AK-47 is a series of Naira notes, 55 Naira notes in number, and they said that this particular Naira note was said to be a potent charm against those who the bullet might not enter, that once anybody is being shot with that particular gun, the person goes down immediately, and that investigation later revealed that the third defendant is the leader of the attack that was carried out on Yelwata on June 13, 2025 in Yelwata, Guma local government of Benue State. The prosecution witness is also giving more testimonies in court, and we are expected to go back to get more of the details of the testimony of the first prosecution witness as grilled by the prosecution counsel.
All right, Joshua Imarayi there giving us an update on the 2025 Yelwata attack, and the update is that the first prosecution witness continues their testimony.